Hi, I'm Mimi Nation-Dixon. I'm a writer and an actor in London, and my one-woman play, Sit or Kneel, which originally debuted at the Edinburgh Fringe just over a year ago now, is coming back to London to the Other Palace from the 21st to the 27th of October, which is super exciting. Coming back bolder, bigger, and better. It went really well. I wrote the play in my final year of university. I kind of buried myself away, spent a whole year kind of writing and rehearsing, took it up to Edinburgh. Slightly had no expectation of how it would go. I had a feeling it might go well because I loved the character and I loved the story, to be honest. Got to Edinburgh, Sunny felt incredibly overwhelmed, going, gosh, this has taken on quite a lot here. But audiences loved it and it tapped into a wider demographic than I originally thought, which was great. People picked up different things from the play, and yeah, it went really well, and it just kind of grew and grew. And since then, I've just been developing it further. It was my first visit, which was I was so excited for. I had kind of heard about it, and it felt a bit like a mystery world. And I was originally going to go. I was in a play. I was going to go up when I was 16. Super excited for that, and then I had to pull out because that was the summer which I got into the National Youth Theatre. So I remember having that feeling so gutted, thinking, "Oh God, my one chance to go to Edinburgh Fringe gone." Obviously, that's not the case. So yeah, my first time in Edinburgh for the Fringe. I'd been up there before, beautiful city, but I feel it's a place that really comes to life in the Fringe, and I'm incredibly envious of all my friends and fellow actors and writers who are all up there now. So Sit or Kneel is about a character, Margot, who is actually named after my family dog, not Margot Robbie. I feel that some people think I've done it because Margot Robbie, and it's like, no, no, nothing to do with her. So Margot is a theology graduate. While all her friends have gone to London, kind of going down a well-trodden path, she finds herself as a vicar in a rural parish. So it explores her finding her feet and all of the silly little goings on in village life, kind of very akin to classic British sitcoms, all the funny things which we all experience. But on a wider scale, it kind of uncovers why she's actually a vicar. Does she actually believe in God, and to what extent is her vicar shell purely that, just a shell and just a mask? So yeah, I find her a great vehicle to incorporate loads of different. So the show is an hour. So it's just an hour of your time to enter into Margot's world and the world of Kiliath and at the other palace. So buy your tickets. So Margot, we it starts with her arrival in the parish. So what's different about this kind of the London rendition is that there's a little surprise at the very start of the play as to how we meet Margot. So it's a bit more dramatic, a bit more cinematic, but no, we meet her on literally her first day in the parish, coming in as not only a young vicar, but a young female vicar. Yeah, so interestingly, I've always loved writing and acting. Mainly growing up, I did a lot of acting, trained at the National Youth Theatre, did a few kind of short films, and writing was something I always viewed as like a separate entity. Um, and then over university, the two started to combine. I did theology at university, but I kind of like to label it like did mainly plays and acting and comedy with the side order of theology just to tick the box and please the parents. But I think what really inspired me for this play, there's kind of like two answers. I'll give you the proper one. So I've always had a fascination with characters who, and I think everybody to an extent embodies this, their exterior self contrasts so greatly to their interior self. And I think that's in general a really fascinating thing about humans. And I think that that's where so much comedy in everyday life lies. So I always knew I wanted to create this compelling character based on that premise and to kind of push that as far as I can. I grew up in literally the middle of nowhere in Sussex on a farm, like just surrounded by chickens and donkeys. And I was making my annual appearance at church on Christmas Day, and the vicar came round and was chatting, and was like to me, "So what do you do?" And I said, "I'm at university. What do you study?" And I was like, "Oh, I do theology at Durham." And then he kind of looked around the congregation, laughed, going, "Oh, she'll be after my job next." And I just remember thinking, gosh, if only you knew what I got up to at university. Like, don't think I'm a prime candidate. And then the ideas started whirring, and I was like, how funny if somebody like me so unexpectedly became a vicar. And from that moment, the idea grew and grew. Originally, it was an idea for a wider series, tying in all the different funny rural characters which I would encounter. And it's actually sat on the floor here. I have this orange notebook where I write down all of these funny like things I notice. So I'd built it all around that, all around characters. But the one woman play, I had this central character, Margot, and I wanted to effectively like test her out and push her as far as I can. So I wrote Sit O'Neill, took Sit O'Neill to Edinburgh, and it went really well. Such a range of people loved it, and they all saw different things within the character, which was, well, as a writer and actor, the most satisfying thing. And it's like such an honour that people come and kind of share this story in this world that you've created. So that's kind of the trajectory. So I thank God for the vicar who made a joke to the congregation saying I'll be after his job, because that really sparked something. Yeah. So I mean, it's the case of what came first, the chicken or the egg. I wrote my dissertation. So as mentioned, I did theology at university. Knew I was writing this play, and it had like the ideas had been kind of whirring inside of me. And when it comes to choosing your dissertation topic, I thought, kill two birds in one stone. I'll just study and deeply analyse arguably, well, my favourite sitcom series about a female vicar, and it's an interesting perspective. The title was How Richard Curtis Helped Society Say Yes to Vicars and Knickers. And it's an interesting perspective because he wrote it at the time when the General Synod had just allowed women to become like vicars and ordained. And I'm here writing it kind of 33 years on. Yet still there is that kind of level of sexism. I encountered people would come up to me at Edinburgh Fringe saying that what I was doing was disgusting. And I was like, it's just a play, it's fiction, it's fiction. So yeah, I mean, I don't fall into it's not a copy at all of the Vicar of Dibley. There are similarities, obviously, because the central character is a vicar who happens to be female, and we still live in a world where kind of where vicar's like still a slightly kind of a gendered job. Margot's a vicar. She's a young vicar who's figuring it out in a rural community in her 20s, which is where the Fleabag likeness comes, because it's the prime time. I think at whatever stage you are in life, you're always slightly figuring it out. But I definitely feel, well, I'm in my 20s at the moment. It's definitely a time where it's like trying to find a perfect pair of jeans, and you keep going into the changing room to try to find a perfect pair. That's how I view my 20s. Well, any likeness to Phoebe Waller-Bridge or Richard Curtis, count me in, honoured. They are two phenomenal writers who have created phenomenal shows and characters. So yeah, flattered. Coming of age comedy. Flying the show in Edinburgh wearing my cassock. I think people did think I was advertising some sermon, but no, it's a comedy, but also I hope it's cerebral as well. So like a sermon in many ways, it should also make you think. But I think above all, I just want to give people an hour where they can enter into another world and just enjoy the story for what it is. Thank you so much for listening. I'm Mimi Nation-Dixon. I'm the writer and actor in Sit O'Neill, and Sit O'Neill will be coming to London on the 21st of October, playing every day at 7 o'clock until the 27th at the Other Palace in London. So look forward to seeing you there.